This last panel is, I like to think of it as something of a sum up of, we've heard a lot of different things about the landscape, we've heard a lot of things about burning, a lot of things about forests and culture, and we really wanted to do this last because we want to think about, well, what is it going to take to actually bring it all back home? Please join us. That is to say, how do we get from here to there in our community here, recognizing that the challenges are not just ecological and technical or even what we'd like to do, but we're confronting some very real kind of cultural and institutional challenges to be able to transform this landscape and community into one that is truly fire adapted. We're dealing with the issues of the economy, we're dealing with issues of regulations, both of which are our legacy. They actually have come out of our history. We have an economic structure, we have a social structure, we have a governmental structure that really was not created to accommodate the kind of challenges that we're facing now. And so we really need to think outside, really literally outside the normal box of business as usual. And as I said at the beginning, we are going to change things. As you know, you're feeling how things are changing, and as I said, we can either do it by design or we can do it by disaster. And I'm very pleased to have this group with us here together. It's going to be a little bit of a change of pace. First, Jeff Lucas, who's the principal in Community Development Services. He's been doing economic development and small business development in several counties, this whole county area. He does work in Lake County, Colusa, Yolo, Mendocino County, and he was, definitely one of my teachers in terms of, the grant process and how to work the intricacies of particularly the state funding world, which is, intense and bewildering and, requires expert native guide to get through. So he's just also very savvy in terms of moving through the business development process. Also pleased to have Robert Thomas with us, who is a local, creative, entrepreneurial energy here in our community, really looking to see what are the various elements that we can use to help support a local, what we call a circular or regenerative economy, recognizing that it's not just about the money, and it's certainly not just about getting a market rate return on investment. We just need to be able to have something that works for us all together, meaning the people who do the work, the people who benefit from the work, what can we all do to make sure that that works? And of course, these are ideas that Magdalena and I at SSCRA have been mulling over really since we started this work 10 years ago after the Valley Fire. How can we actually help find new ways to work for our community that will enable us to do what needs to be done to transform our community into a fire-adapted landscape and a fire-adapted culture. So with that, this is going to be more of a conversation. I'd like to ask Jeff if you could just start you look startled. Yeah, to talk about, what are the kinds of challenges? We are a relatively small community, and it's not like we're a hub of industry or a hub of business. How can we start to think about building a small business ecosystem here in the Cobb area that can do the kind of work that needs to be done? Any thoughts that you have just to kick us off about that?
Any thoughts whatsoever? It's a miracle for me, actually. So I was thinking about this. First off, I want to compliment this entire community. I'm from Lake County, down by the lake, and so we would come to Cobb when I was a kid, and it was always fun. It was like a field trip. It's so different. And then during the Valley Fire, because of the work we do to access grants for infrastructure and business loans and provide technical assistance to businesses. I was able to spend a lot of time here. And the response to the fire was, I was really impressed by it. And a lot of it is because of your good work. I mean that. You guys are a great team. And the community responded by pulling together, not apart. It's very impressive. So you have the character already here. You have the fabric and you have the commitment and you have community members who are willing to do good for all. And we don't see that everywhere we work. We work throughout California. So with the fire, there were so many absences that were generated by it. People left. They haven't come back. And that's people who will buy, people who consume, and then some have returned, some have rebuilt, some have not. So you've lost a lot of your buying power, your consumers, right? Your users of products and services. And then there's a lot of empty buildings because the people that were here and buying services are going to places. They're just not here to do that. But there's also, seems to me, this emergence of a new economy or part of an economy based on what work that you were doing. Because to change your community and how you're dealing with, fire management and controlling that and using a lot of the discussions that came up today. And I learned a lot. Every time I come up here, I learn something. There will be individuals and small businesses that will need to provide those services for property clearing, so to speak. I'm not sure if I'm using all the terms, but to do what you've been doing for so many years and what you've been doing for the last 25 years. So it seems to me that if we in our role can help those folks with technical assistance and guidance, how to start a business, the business plan, and access to capital, there's nothing wrong with return,
Right.
a market return.
Right.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And if we can help those smaller folks here start a business or develop a business or expand their business, they'll hire more people to do the work you're talking about to help others who can't take care of their property themselves.
Right.
So I know that's real fundamental. It's not any big mystery deal, but that's something that we can do, and there's no cost to the small business owner operator. These are funds that we get through grants. We apply for the grants on behalf of the county, nonprofit organizations, and then we do the work to help people. And then we also have small business loan programs. It's like 1% financing that we can help get people started. And then once they're up and operating, what we like to do is step down and have the bank pick up the financing. Excuse me. So those are some of the things that we can do. I'm really not a big picture guy in a lot of ways. I kind of see how things work and how all the parts make the whole. But what I really like to do is help the individual parts come together. And that's through technical assistance and financing. So that's what we're all about.
So when you say technical assistance, Jeff, what kind of technical issues?
Yeah, I can give you an example. So we have people who will help you with your permit if you need permitting. We have several businesses here we're working with now. I'm trying to think of one that's best with an example. This is a gal. She has a business. It's a really good business idea, but she just has the idea, and she's been helping people with what it is she does, but she doesn't know how to put the parts together. How do you keep track of your money? How do you know if you do this full time rather than keep your 3 part-time jobs you have, if it's going to, feed your family? Well, we sit down with them and put together an income, a P&L, spreadsheets, and say, if you get this many, will you have this many customers? And if you charge them this amount per hour, how many customers do you have to where you can make ends meet?
Right.
And that's just sitting down. It's not really exciting, but it's sitting down and going through the numbers, right?
Right.
And then, okay, so this can work because there really is that many customers out there. for
Right.
what you do. Okay, great. So now, how are you going to structure your business? Where's it going to be located? How much will you need to get started for the equipment that you need to do this work? Okay, how do we access that capital? How much do you have? You're going to bring this little bit. That's okay. We'll provide this much from what we do, and let's go talk to a couple of our local banks and see if they'll do the rest.
Right.
And then, oh, you're going to need a website for that. We have people who can help you set up a website and show you how it can look. And you have input, and then we design it and set it up.
Great, well, thanks. Well, to my mind, there's no better example of someone really trying to make this happen than, our Toon Company and what Robert does. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot is, we've talked a lot about fire, because this is, we're kicking off our wildfire prevention plan here. But as I said at the very beginning, it's mostly not about fire. It's really about a change in how we relate to the landscape, change in how we do that, how we actually manifest that changed relationship. And I know we've had some great conversations about, well, there's a whole range of different things that might entail, some of which are easy, some of which are really hard. Some of which, you can do, without any resources, some which may take resources, some of which are straightforwards, and some of which are illegal, but which actually, is really what we should be doing. So would you share with us your experience of actually putting together, the work that you're doing and some of the challenges that you're facing? And if you could talk right into
All
the
within 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for creating a little space for me to be up here, and I'm happy to share with you. As I look out and see everyone's face and eyes, I see everyone's attention and focus, and as the world turns, there's always these things that are happening, and we're seeing where maybe we're separate and we're dividing, and we've been through a lot. We've heard from a lot of folks here today that have spoke about a lot of different things, but yet we're all very united here right now for one genuine good reason. I also see a lot of folks that I've probably helped or served along with our team. At least I'm hoping so. And it's an honor. I came here in 2011. I had just a little bit of a history talking about the experience, right? I got a kind of an awareness of how I've gotten to where I'm at and why I'm here and how we're moving forward. So I came here in 2011 following some time in the Marines and 2 deployments in the Anbar Province. Kind of heavy-duty stuff. All of you people were here for me. This place was here for me. It allowed me to relax a little bit and heal. And just about that time, 2015 comes around, and here it goes again. I was, kind of coming out of all that. I think that burned the rest of it out of me. I was having some, my own trigger points with things blowing up and people with this look on their face of not knowing what to do or experiencing that level of trauma. I've been a lot of things in my life, all the way from a firefighter to a Marine to just being a dad, which is probably the greatest. But it's kind of like a gift and a curse to see people that are afraid and know what to do. So after that, I see a lot of folks that don't know what to do. They got the wind knocked out of them. In 2016, we experienced a new thing, which we always see after major fires, which is drought, pests. Just when we thought we had seen it all, we're about to see some more and then some. So like right after the fire, in fact, the lot that we're at up there across from the church, I stayed with Carl and Linda Parker for 2 weeks down in Lakeport with my family. And so that's how we got to know each other. And we played music, and we cooked, and we listened and lived, and, you know, several people in that group lost their house. And so that was the first place that I ever cleared of all the material, and we burned it all. And that just seemed like the way to go at that time. I know there was a couple of grinders that were going at that time down in Middletown and Adams Springs. You know, there was different ways happening, but there were some folks that came from out of town that helped us to move forward, because we were all kind of like wiping the tears from our eyes, and we had been through a lot. I'm gonna like go back a little bit to the beginning of this whole summit, which there was a panel of other people that were here, and they were all asking us to put a little bit different lens on how we see things. And I think each and every one of us, we're kind of like little kids still, but in a grown-up body. I don't see any youngsters out there in the crowd, but we all started there. And we all want to have fun until things get a little scary or out of hand. So that being said, when they're speaking and we're listening and we're all putting that lens on, we all have our own journey, and a lot of that journey can seem to get played over the present moment of what we're seeing. And that's what I saw right after the fire, which was that folks were making reactive choices because they were in a state of panic. They were in a state of anxiety. And I know one guy out there has also noticed that, and being conscientious about what we're doing out here is really, for me, listening to the forest. I'm not going to say the next best thing, because everything that I could possibly share with you is already within each and every one of you. If we're all here looking for truth, and we're all looking for what to do next, it's in the quiet, it's in the still. Be still and know, right? So, like, listen to the forest. What does it need? Well, I think of the forest as a big garden. And when we're thinking about our gardens, because I see a lot of folks I know that do a lot of gardening, and you know that I've been starting to mess around with soils and things like that, and thank you for your support on that. When we think about a garden, we're thinking about what we can put in that garden, but it all starts with the base, which is the soil, which is the duff. Thank you. Thanks for sharing, you know, because I'm where I'm at because of everyone else that's helped me get here. So when I think about rebuilding and I think about what that fire did, that's why you see us out there putting stuff back on the ground.
Right.
Because it's important. Not only because it's important to grow something good, but it's important for all that invisible life that we never see because we're driving 50 miles down the road or 50 mile an hour down the road, or we're in a hurry to get to the next place, which is me sometimes, I know. It's to help serve everyone out here. I think we should all slow it down and just kind of check in with what the forest needs. And if we did, we'd probably hear birds chirping. We'd see the little bluebellies doing push-ups on the rocks. All is well, is what I'm saying. So we don't maybe have to go and do too much. But I'm going to circle back around here to your question. Thanks for listening to a little bit of my experience. How do we build a forest economy? Well, when we were all that young age and we weren't thinking too much, we were just imagining and having fun. And we mostly all had some sort of little toy box, even if it was a tiny one or a big one. But it didn't take long before we started to think right outside of that toy box, because we got bored with what we had, or we just wanted to expand or evolve a little bit. And I think that's what we're doing right now, right here. As we come into our new way of living here, our new selves, we're looking around And this thing kind of came to me when I went locally from 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, to what the heck are we going to do with all this stuff? And when I pulled up, I'd go, I got green waste on. Green waste. Well, what is waste? Waste is something that is kind of like unvalued material, right? That's thinking outside the box. Waste is waste if we waste it. And so what can we do with it? Oh my gosh. Well, that began the whole process of what are we going to do with all this stuff? At the same time, I get several calls a day of people that don't know what to do with all their stuff. And they're calling in wanting to know what to do with the stuff. So I think, okay, well, I think of the garden approach. I think about what type of products, kind of uses. Everyone liked Lincoln logs back in the day, and we all built these amazing structures and all kinds of little things and lived in those little structures even though we were big. We have a lot of great people, a lot of artists, a lot of people with a lot of gifts that have already done so much that really we're just looking on to everyone to come up with that next greatest thing. And we're all probably sitting on something right now that someone came up with. All the amenities that we have, all these lights, the cameras, the cool drinking vessels, everything. It shouldn't be so hard. We just need to remember, because that's what I remember life is really all about as I get older. I'm sure you can all attest to that it's about remembering what it was like when we were younger, when it was funner, or we had more imagination in our forward focus. So to create a forest economy, yes, it does take money, but if you exchange the word money with love, then I think we're probably not short on any type of money or love or like super creatures. We just need to put it together and form something and move forward with it. I don't have much more to say on that. In fact, speaking nearly isn't my thing when you asked me to do this.
Hey, thank you, Robert. Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to hear from you. Really,
Thank you, man.
Knew it's in there. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Magdalena, and ask you, because we talk all the time about this stuff, and one of the conversations that we are constantly thinking about is how do we create the opportunities for everybody to become involved in the process of cooperation and exchange together. And I know this is something you've been actually thinking very specifically about, so if you could...
Well, let's start with the word economy, so we can bridge what Jeff and Robert were talking about. So those of you who have studied your Greek, I'll just remind you, economy came from a word in Greek that speaks to the management of the home. Okay, your eco, your home.
Let's use this one.
Okay. You're trying to manage your home. So you don't want your home to be a mess, but if you're managing your home properly, you're going to use all your resources, including the waste that seems to be useless. You end up in the most managed homes, you can actually recycle your poop and your pee to work with your gardens. Now, we don't do that in our individual homes, but the sewage plants are making money off of fertilizer. So we're doing it on a larger scale out there where you and I don't tend to see it. But right here in the forest where we live, there's so much more that we can be doing besides going, oh my God, I don't want any more trees. Oh my God, they're cutting the trees. And then you have everybody crying because they're not getting something that they thought that they wanted. So what I welcome in these conversations is, let's look at it all from a different lens. What have we got here? What can we put back into circulation so that we're getting the best uses? We're getting the uses for what these things can provide us. I can tell you that the county has been looking at things like, what do we do with all that biomass? I can also tell you that I get phone calls from people and emails. Magdalena, I would really like some free chips. Where can I get free chips? And I always have to tell them, go make friends with one of your contractors out there. They need a place to dispose of this stuff instead of taking it to the landfill. And you know what? Our forests need those chips. Why take those chips all the way to the landfill? People are spending the money to take it out to the landfill, and meanwhile the forest is losing nutrients because all of the leaf litter and whatever is now being carted someplace else, right? So I want to rethink all that. And I know that I'm taking a class now in things like, in a group called the Lift Economy, where we're looking at things like circular economies. How do you move the energy faster? Sometimes you need to move it slow, but you need to have many exchanges. One of the examples that they used was an Inuit village. And I think that we have something like this here somewhere, because I know, but let me describe the example first. So they used this Inuit village, and it was a set of villages, all these people lived there, and whenever there was a whale that would be caught, they started to see that there were a lot of exchanges, grandmothers, grandfathers, kids going over and helping people out and things like that. Then when they started bringing in tinned salmon and canned goods and stuff like that, all of a sudden there was a little less health among the people. There were far less exchanges of interaction between the villages, and things kind of started to go downward and downward. So the comparison between the whale, where it takes a lot of people to eat a whale together, and everybody got a little bit. Everybody got what they needed. The distribution was there. And a lot of our economy, we have problems with distribution. There's food out there, but we are not getting to it. Not only is there food out there, one of the things I learned by working with folks like Robert and our tribal folks is we're living in food. This area, you heard Corinne and Jordan and Ron talk about this area fed thousands of people. And we brought a team from Middletown Rancheria and from Terra and Big Valley, and we took them to a particular part of our community in Seigler Springs. And I knew about blackberry bushes. I'm so smart. And but they walk in, and they're like, "Oh wow, look at all this food." And I'm looking like, where? What do you mean? I only see blackberries. Well, they started naming all the native foods, and it was clear that there at one point had been a village there. Okay? You usually don't see and this is what I learned from them, you usually don't see so many native plants in an area without it having been settled, because there was something there and then people came and tended it. There's knowledge out there. We have, whether you believe in climate change or not, everybody can agree grocery prices are going up. I don't know how to eat those foods. I need help. I'm hoping that this community wildfire protection plan process that we're going to go through with trainings and workshops and whatever for the next 2 years. I'm hoping and working on getting some of that food in here so we can give it a try and not keep looking like, it's kind of nice. You know, I wanna live like humans together, you know, enjoy together, right? See what we actually have. Have cultural eyes. Cultural eyes means we've lived with the place. We know what's here. We know how to act so that we're always going to have the things that sustain us and how to sustain each other, right? You've been hearing all these presentations today, all the conversations, and I feel lucky that not only do we have landowners like Scott and Peter that are willing and interested in doing things like that, but we have contractors who want to do stuff like that. So whatever we can do to encourage that, whether it means working with the zoning, whether it means working with the planning department, whether it means, you know, bringing in the technical assistance with grants or whatever, let's do all those things. Figure out where they all fit, and we're going to have to learn it together because, you know, guys, I've been doing this for 9 years. I didn't know fire. I gave you a list of acronyms. I've had Fire Safe Council people ask me for that list. There's a lot out there. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to learn together. So we're not all going to have the same level of knowledge. Everybody's going to have a bit of expertise that they can lend, and we need everybody's expertise here. We just do. So that's what I would say.
Well, that's fantastic. I think I might just even leave it right there. You know, we're actually on, that will actually put us to end on time, and we love ending on time. At least we're not ending. We've got our one final little piece scheduled to go at 2:30. So I'd like to, Paul, are you around in the sound of my voice? Larry, if you just kind of grab Paul and let him know that we're about ready to. While we're waiting for Paul, I just want to, I'll wrap up this panel by saying, as I said at the beginning, this is a kickoff. This is the beginning of a process that we are going to be, a journey we're going to be on for 2-3 years, depending on funding. I'm hoping that as a result of what you've heard today, you will be willing to join us in the next workshop and the next workshop, and come to the next series of classes we have and learn and
Learn and celebrate.
right.
Learn and celebrate together.
And we've got a few milestones we're looking to. I mean, we almost made it this time. We were talking about the acorns. Ron Montez was saying, oh, you know, Patty Franklin up at Scotts Valley makes a fantastic acorn muffin. You know, so we were hoping we could get acorn muffins for this time, but hopefully the next time we have a gathering, we'll have acorn muffins. Or Angie Winchester, who many of you know, who just stopped at work in the Cobb School Garden. Yeah, she says, yeah, I do acorn buckwheat flapjacks. And so one of the others, that's my promise to you, is the next time we have it, we're going to have some acorn food. So with that, I'll ask Chief Duncan to come on up and kind of sing us out. And we'll